Good quality too. None of that cheap stuff either. This front part along the face area looks like it's bone, which I don't have, nor the kind of bone you would probably want that has the strength to endure any punishment it might receive in a fight. The only thing I can really do is use heavy compressed steel in its place, which would take time in putting together in this design to make given my old age. But I think I can get it ready for you in say about 2, maybe 3 days tops. Provided, of course, I don't have any other customers seeking my services for a custom job, answered the old man with Shao Kahn, nodding, and went to a ceiling scroll behind his robes and brought out a large bag filled with lots of gold coins that overflowed once open. All of this is yours, if you make it with the finest materials and get it to me 3 days or less from now, replied Shao Kahn, with the old man looking shocked at the sight of such wealth. That is, a lot of money. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you aren't your average monk or priest. Are you? Said the old shopkeeper. I never said I was either of those things, countered Shao Kahn. True, you just wear robes, so I assumed you were, replied the old man. Can you make it in the time I require? Asked Shao Kahn, with the old man nodding. I have the materials, some of the best around. After the bridge was first built, business in Wave Country went through the roof, and I got in on the ground floor. I have quality stuff in the back that would suit your needs just fine, replied the old shopkeeper, while Shao Kahn nodded. Here's your payment, half now, half later upon completion, replied Shao Kahn, while taking out half of what was in the bag, if not a little bit more than intended, before closing it back up. I'll close up shop so I can get to work on this right away. Where do I find you when it's finished? Asked the old shopkeeper curiously. Do you know Tazuna and his family? Asked Shao Kahn, with the old man nodding. Yeah, great family. Tazuna was an old drinking buddy of mine before he died. Why? Questioned the elderly man. I'll be staying at their house, provided it's still standing, answered Shao Kahn, with the old man looking serious. Tsunami and Inari are being detained. They are scheduled for execution in 3 days. I don't mind a heavy-paying customer, but if you are going to live in their home while they suffer, then I will respectfully decline making this for you and taking your money too, said the old shopkeeper, who believed in principles and wasn't about to forsake a good old friend along with his family so someone could live in their house, while he made a strange demonic-looking helmet. You misunderstand. I was a good friend, Tazuna, and I would like to think I still am a good friend to Tsunami and Inari. Even if it has been many years we last saw each other when the bridge was finally finished, replied Shao Kahn, while the old shopkeeper now narrowed his eyes. The day the bridge was finished was when the people of Wave Country said goodbye to that Konoha team Tazuna hired. You couldn't possibly have been there, countered the elderly man. Oh, but I was there. I was there to see Inari cry tears of joy, rather than tears of sorrow, replied Shao Kahn, with the shopkeeper's eyes widen, but narrow again while trying to pierce the shadows of the hood. Only the people of Wave Country and that team of Konoha shinobi know about that. You aren't the silver-haired Cyclops or that pompous-ass Uchiha. You're certainly not that pink-haired eyesore of a girl who was said to screech should someone insult the Uchiha, the old shopkeeper accused, while in his mind a sliver of hope on who this was began to form. Leaving only one other person, said Shao Kahn before letting out a chuckle behind his hooded robes, and it made the shopkeeper's eyes widen at the unspoken answer. That boy died. Painfully. Konoha said as much. They ripped his body to shreds, and was said to have been burned until there was nothing but ashes left to be scattered into the winds, accused the old man, with Shao Kahn shaking his head. No. Reports of my demise were greatly exaggerated. I did not die. I endured. I survived. I changed with the environment. I walked through fire, death, battles, wars, and chaos itself. I have done so many things in my time away, things you could not even begin to imagine. But now I have returned, and I intend to get my revenge on those who betrayed me that day, replied Shao Kahn, with the old shopkeeper nodding with wide eyes. I believe you. I can hear it in your voice. You are him. Our hero has returned to us at long last, exclaimed the old man with joy. I will save Tsunami and Inari from their impending death. But I will need your help do it by making this helmet. When I fight to free them, this helmet will be an instrument to bring about fear and terror to the hearts of my enemies. Before I rip said hearts out with my bare hands, explained Shao Kahn with the old shopkeeper nodding. I'll get right on this. Hell, I'll even do it for free, offered the old man, but the giant man in robes shook his head. While I am pleased by the offer, it is only fair I compensate you for your time, replied Shao Kahn with the old shopkeeper nodding. All right, just kill that one Junin guarding the bridge with that needle in his mouth. He was the one who Tazuna. I saw it myself, stated the old shopkeeper. The Junin is already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. See you in a few days, old man, replied Shao Kahn before leaving the shop to find the home of the family that treated him like a person. Tazuna's house. The home was just like the former Konoha shinobi turned former emperor of Outworld remembered it after all these years. He was a bit surprised to see it standing though, as the Konoha shinobi, who killed Tazuna and took his family, let it stand. Shao Kahn theorized that they did this because they weren't ready to destroy it just yet, or they were going to hold on to the land around the house for some snooty fire country noble to buy before tearing it down or perform renovations. Whatever the case, it was his temporary home now until he could free Tsunami and Inari from their intended execution a few days from now. He would need those days to prepare himself, see where his strength level was at, and what exactly he had at his disposal. Shao Kahn knew right away the answer to his question was his powers, his speed, strength, and the agility it possessed despite his overall size. The Wrath Hammer, which he had used on many occasions, was in his hand now, the blood from the bandits killed still somewhat fresh and needed to be cleaned off. Walking into the home, the former emperor of Outworld looked around, seeing signs of a struggle had happened in this house when the Leaf Shinobi came. Some blood was on the wall and floor. A broken glass and plate were on the ground not far. Kunai and shuriken holes proving the weapons were thrown here. Shao Kahn would definitely see to it that those Leaf Shinobi here, currently occupying the land of Wave Country, suffered greatly. Oh yes, they were going to suffer greatly indeed. Execution grounds 3 days later. A robed figure, looking like a large yet humble monk or priest with his hood on, was walking toward the area where 2 people were going to die today. A young teenage boy and his mother. He heard the growing crowd behind the fence where the executions were going to happen. The people were getting into a frenzy. They were shouting, spitting, and cursing the Konoha shinobi behind the fence at the injustice of it all. The robed figure merely stood back, watching things from behind the mob, as he saw a Konoha Junin currently standing between the 2 soon-to-be executed people. When the robed figure looked at the Junin, he instantly went ramrod straight, and instantly knew who this person was despite the years away. So they made him Junin now? Hard to imagine. I guess with his success in betraying my trust and hating me for years must have warranted the fool to get promoted, thought the figure while clenching his hands into fists. Umino, Iruka, former Chunin and Konoha Academy instructor of the Leaf. And beside him, Special Junin and his lover Mitarashi Anko. The woman was wearing the same damn thing she always wore. Trench coat, fishnet shirt, and short skirt that did little to hide her female form. Let's get this show on the road, Iruka. We have a schedule to keep, barked Anko while Iruka nodding and moved to address the angry crowd while Leaf Shinobi were forming a line of defense should the fence set up to keep the people back was knocked down by the protesting populace. People of what was once Wave Country, we are here today to carry out an execution in the name of justice, declared Iruka while the crowd got angry. Justice. More like injustice, protested one person in the crowd. These 2 criminals have been found guilty of crimes against Konoha, its Hawkage, and Fire Country as a whole, continued Iruka, and saw the fence being shaken. You're the criminals. You invaded our home. You're no better than Gato, protested a second person. for refusing a simple request and loving an evil demon. It has been decided that in order to save the souls of these two people, they must be put to death, concluded Iruka, and the crowd got even more rowdy. Murderers! Yelled a third. Backstabbers! Cried out a fourth. You are the real demons and monsters. Naruto was a hero to the people of Wave, and you had him murdered because he wouldn't be your pawn like my dad Kaiza. Like my grandfather, came a voice that was surprisingly from Inari, and those among the crowd heard it was making the mob of people very rowdy. You sealed your fate, boy. Kill him first, commanded Iruka with the Anbu in front of Inari, and kneeing him in the gut before bringing out his tanto. No! Someone do something, protested Tsunami, as she had been silent the entire. But to see her only child about to die was too much, and it brought back the memory of when she along with Inari were saved by Naruto. But Naruto was gone. No one could save them again. Before the masked Anbu could do anything, a spear of green energy flew through the fence, hit the Konoha shinobi straight in the chest, and sent the man flying several feet before stopping dead. In that moment, all protests, shouts, and orders from everyone went silent at what was just witnessed by everybody there. Following the trajectory of the projectile, everyone soon turned their heads to the large, robed and hood-covered figure with his arm currently outstretched, like he had thrown a spear or javelin. I think it's time someone put you Konoha shinobi in your place. Somewhere underneath the soil and dirt seems appropriate, remarked the robed figure, while walking forward, and the mob of people let him without protest. You have some balls to do that. I'm going to enjoy cutting them off before killing you alongside our victims, said Anko with a grin and kunai in hand. The robed figure said nothing, just stood in front of the fence for a moment, and some of the people wondered if the man behind the robes lost his nerve. That line of thought was shot down when a pair of large hands from within the robes grabbed the fence and tore it apart like it was tissue paper. Stepping through, the figure found himself surrounded on all sides by Konoha shinobi with their swords, and kunai drawn for battle. Care to tell us your name before you die here today? Asked Iruka with the figure letting out a cruel laugh that echoed throughout the area. Telling you my name wouldn't matter. After today, almost all of you here won't be alive long enough to speak it, let alone tell your pathetic hulkage about my existence, replied the figure, while Leaf Shinobi bristled and tensed with anger. Kill him, commanded Anko with the Konoha shinobi around her moving swiftly to kill the fool that insulted the Gondame Hawkage. No one expected the figure to move so fast, given his size and rough outlined shape with the heavy robes of a monk or priest. But they underestimated him, and it cost the attackers dearly, as he clotheslined one shinobi, spun on his heel, dodging a tanto to the back, before kneeing another one, and backhanded the second attacker who tried to stab him with a sword. Seeing her chance, Anko used her many hidden shadow snake hands to try entrapping the cloaked figure. But she was caught by surprise when the figure dodged the line of snakes before grabbing them all swiftly with his cloaked arm, and crushed them with his clearly superior strength. Sealed bomb square release, exclaimed Iruka, as he had used this time to prepare this attack and trap the enemy within this quite literally explosive prison before killing him. Looks like we win, remarked Anko confidently with a smirk on her face. And how do you figure that? Questioned the robed figure. This is a barrier seal of sorts, a deadly one. See Iruka over there. One hand sign from him and your barrier becomes a bomb, one that will destroy you. If you try to move, you get the same result, and your remains go flying, explained Anko with the figure looking around to see the Konoha shinobi he knocked down were starting to get up, but were badly injured from each hit. Is this supposed to mean something? Your little attempt to frighten me into surrendering? To beg for mercy? Questioned the unafraid figure while Anko's smirk lessened over the fact this guy wasn't begging for mercy. Considering the alternative is being dead and in multiple pieces, replied Anko as she walked toward him, but stopped when the figure let out a cruel chuckle. You and that fool. Iruka underestimate me. Konoha shinobi always did when I was there as a child, remarked the figure before surprising everyone, and walking toward Anko. Before the seals went off and the explosion covering the area with enough force to send Konoha shinobi, along with some of the populace of Wave Country, flying back. When the smoke cleared, everyone saw that the figure was surprisingly standing unharmed. His robes were charred, burned, tattered, and ready to fall off while blowing against a sudden wind. He shouldn't be standing. That should have killed him, exclaimed Iruka in shock while the figure walked out of the smoke and slowly grabbed the tattered, destroyed robes on his body before ripping them off. Honestly, I expected more out of you, Iruka. Apparently, your skills are not worthy of the promotion to Junin like I first thought, mocked the figure before summoning a large sledgehammer to his hand out of nowhere. How did he summon a weapon? Asked one of the injured Ambu while seeing it appear almost out of nowhere. And why do you talk to me as if I've met you before? I don't know you, said Iruka with the massive figure of seemingly solid muscle walking toward him and Anko. You once gave me something under the false pretense of friendship. Before that, you hated me for something that another did, and who I was connected to since the day I was born. Ring any bells now? Hinted the figure while Iruka narrowed his eyes, but Anko's was clearly piecing things together much faster than him, and it was clear she'd figure it out soon. I've never hated anyone from Konoha in my life. Not even Mizuki when he betrayed the village, said Iruka with the figure stopping, and frowned at him behind the mask while crimson red eyes glowed angrily. Look into my eyes, Iruka. Don't they have a familiar look to them? The ones you saw as a child. The ones you saw while your parents were being killed that night, exclaimed the figure, and smiled again when Iruka's eyes widened in surprise before it slowly dawned on the man. No, it's impossible. It's impossible, whispered Iruka in denial while his breathing had now gone heavy with shock and horror, all over his face. What is it, Iruka? Demanded Anko while she stared between them with confusion, if only a slight bit of it. You still don't recognize me. And here I thought the crazy snake bitch would piece it all together by now before Iruka did. Clearly, the only thing you are good for is spreading your legs for Iruka. Just like Mizuki said. Right before I killed him with my bare hands, mocked the figure while Anko and Iruka looked shocked. You killed Mizuki. When? Demanded Iruka angrily with the figure smirking at him. A few days ago, not far from Wave Country. He was aiding a group of bandits in raiding a caravan of its riches, and said quite a few choice words about you two. Before I killed him, answered the figure, and it was clear Iruka wasn't taking it well. You monster, you demon! I should have just let Mizuki kill you in the forest when he had the chance back then, exclaimed Iruka before drawing his weapon in anger. And risk the real demon escaping from my body. As much as you hated me for being a living prison, Iruka. We'll both know you hated the idea of QB getting out even more, replied the figure with Iruka gritting his teeth, and Anko's eyes going wide in shock before she got into a more deadlier fighting stance. Uzumaki. Naruto, for abandoning your duties to Konoha and threatening its stability, you are to be put to death, ordered Anko with the people behind the giant man looking at him in shock that their hero had returned. Almost instantly, the crowd behind him roared to life, calling out to protect their hero, to quickly overpower the Konoha shinobi with their greater numbers. Stay where you are. This is my fight and mine alone, commanded the giant man firmly with the people of Wave looking surprised by the order. Why? We want to help you, to repay you for all you've done, protested one person. You deserve our help, added another person. We can help you take down these pieces of Konoha trash together, cried out a third while the people were getting more rowdy. Do as I say. If anyone is going to take down these pieces of Konoha trash, it will be me, commanded the giant of a man before walking forward. Not too bright, Gaki. You may have gotten bigger and packing more muscle, but you are still the same klutzy, dim-witted Uzumaki Naruto that didn't know a pencil from a kunai growing up, said Anko mockingly, while the figure in front of her began to generate a lot of power. Then you need your eyes checked. I am no longer Uzumaki Naruto. Konoha was able to successfully kill him years ago through the power of their so-called Will of Fire, it has embraced since its founding? I am what he became from the ashes of that fire. You may call me Shao Kahn, replied Shao Kahn before he moved in a blur of speed, and was hit by a shoulder tackle that sent her into one of the wooden poles used to hold tied-up soon-to-be-executed criminals. Anko! Called out Iruka, but Shao Kahn was in front of him in a second, and backhanded the former Chunin Academy instructor with his free hand-turned fist. Down already. From one hit, don't make me laugh, Iruka. Clearly you are no more a Junin-level shinobi. Then you were a Chunin-level shinobi, all those years ago. If all your strength fails you now? And only after one hit, no less, mocked Shao Kahn while walking toward him, but was stopped when the group of Konoha shinobi from before stood in his way along with what appeared to be additional reinforcements. We heard the explosion and knew it wasn't standard execution ground policy, replied Genma with his team, and saw the figure that was Shao Kahn turning to face him with an evil grin on his face. Prepare to die, Konoha shinobi, for this day will be your last, exclaimed Shao Kahn with his power swirling around him like a vortex and making his enemies very uneasy. What is he? Genma asked Iruka, who was trying to stand. It's the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. It's Uzumaki Naruto, exclaimed Iruka with the shinobi, who came as reinforcements looking shocked before preparing for battle. All your souls are now mine, exclaimed Shao Kahn before charging forward and began to unleash his fury on the shinobi in front of him, not prepared for the battle that they had just walked into. Seeing her comrades getting butchered, Anko quickly summoned a large snake, one the size of a horse to be exact, and commanded it to charge Shao Kahn. She was hoping that it would kill him, or at least weaken the monster with its deadly poison. Shao Kahn saw the snake coming out of the corner of his eye and swung his wrath hammer horizontally into the side of the snake's face. The end result was the head exploding and killing the snake in a violent display of gore showering everyone around him. The Konoha shinobi around him tried to gang up on him at once, but Shao Kahn hit one with a flying knee, smashed the skull of another's in two with the wrath hammer, used the bottom of the pointed hilt of said wrath hammer to stab another in the eye, and killing two shinobi for the price of one with a well-timed fireball of his own. Sensing someone sneaking up behind him, Shao Kahn spun around and saw it was Genma with his senba needle out to strike a spot in his neck if hit could paralyze his target. Acting quickly, the former emperor of Outworld grabbed Genma by the throat with his free hand and violently snapped the man's neck before tossing him away like yesterday's trash. Die, dee, exclaimed Iruka as he managed to sneak to the top of the wooden pole that held prisoners for execution and jumped down on the back of Shao Kahn before repeatedly stabbing him with a kunai in the chest area, while holding on for dear life. It might have worked too if not for the energy shield that blocked each stabbing long enough for Shao Kahn to reach back, grab Iruka and slam him into the ground before putting his large sandaled foot on the man's torso. The impact from the foot broke a few ribs and making the scarred Junin cry out in pain, which got worse when Shao Kahn applied more pressure to it. Iruka, exclaimed Anko as she moved to make a few hand signs for a jutsu, but was stopped at the time by a spear of light hitting the side of her torso too fast for the special Junin to dodge yet, kept her pinned to the wooden pole. You bastard, exclaimed Iruka as he tried to reach for the kunai he lost when his enemy grabbed him, and slammed his body into the ground. And what if I am? What does that make my so-called parents, my so-called sister? Not that I care since they will soon be dead just like you are about to be real soon, replied Shao Kahn before getting ready to stomp the man's chest in. No, don't kill him. I beg of you, pleaded Anko while Shao Kahn looked at her right in the eyes before a loud crunch echoed around the execution grounds. Umino Iruka was dead, a look of pain and horror showing on his face at having his life end so violently in such a way. The sound that followed was Mitarashi Anko's wails of sadness and sorrow, at losing the man she loved with all her heart while crying her eyes out. As she did, Shao Kahn walked over to her, but on the way, the man freed Tsunami and Inari from their ropes that bound them to the poles. Thank you, thank you, thank you, exclaimed Tsunami as she hugged Shao Kahn, and Inari doing the same. I knew you were alive, big brother. I knew you wouldn't let Konoha win, exclaimed Inari with Shao Kahn letting out a chuckle. We have much to talk about in the near future. Go home. I'll be there soon. Right after I deal with this one here, said Shao Kahn while pointing his wrath hammer at Anko, and began walking toward her. Not one to argue with him, Tsunami, Inari, and the people of Wave Country left knowing their hero's judgment on this matter was absolute. Kill me, whispered Anko when Shao Kahn was standing right in front of her. Care to repeat that? Asked Shao Kahn with a hint of amusement. I said kill me. Kill me now. Kill me right fucking now, demanded Anko before glaring up at him with tear-stained eyes. Why? Because you want me to kill you? Because you want to take the easy way out? Or because you want to join your beloved Iruka in hell? Questioned Shao Kahn with the woman glaring at him with tears running down her face. It's because I refuse to be anything else while you are still alive, exclaimed Anko with some show of defiance, while Shao Kahn laughed. You put up a brave front, but I can see into your soul. You are afraid, deathly afraid, of me, of what I can do to Konoha, but more importantly, to you. And you know what? Replied Shao Kahn as he grabbed her by the wound while the light spear dispelled itself and heard her scream out in pain. What? Exclaimed Anko while being lifted off the ground and slammed into the pole with just that one arm with his helmet-covered face directly in front of her. You are right to be afraid of me. Very afraid. I am out for revenge against everyone who betrayed me. You, Iruka, the rookies, their Junin senseis, my parents, my godparents, the Sandan, and everyone else that hurt me all those years ago, replied Shao Kahn with Anko gritting her teeth in pain when he dug his hand into her torso. I was only following orders, protested Anko before crying out in pain. A lie and an excuse to justify your reason. Not that it matters. I have lived long enough under the heel of those giving and following orders. No more. You and Abiki did quite a number on me when I was being questioned. I told you the truth, and you wouldn't let up. I can still remember your laughter in the darkness of my prison cell as you cut into my flesh. You weren't doing it because of orders or to get the real truth from me. You were doing it because you wanted to do it. My pain was your so-called redemption in the eyes of Konoha. My suffering was your freedom. You knew that if I suffered greatly by your hands, people would think your loyalty to Konoha was absolute, and being alone for the rest of your life would be a thing of the past. I was actually surprised you would sink so low and betray yourself like that. Especially when it came to me. We both suffered at the hands of the village, but for different reasons, yet we were practically in the same damn boat. Only you jumped for a new life when offered the chance, and left me stranded to die in what soon became a sinking ship, countered Shao Kahn while Anko grabbed the arm holding her in place, trying to push it away so the pressure of his hand wouldn't be so painful. But he only pressed harder, and she screamed out while more tears left her eyes. I was tired. All right. I admit it. I was tired of the hatred, of the pain. I was offered a chance and I took it. Yondaime-sama, Sandaime-sama, Jiraiya-sama, and Tsunade-sama came to me before your assigned interrogation with the offer to change public support in my favor. The Yondaime explained he could vouch for me, saying that I was not under Orochimaru's influence at all, and he could get Orochimaru to admit it as well when he came back to the village as full. All I had to do was make you suffer. It didn't matter if you were telling the truth or not. They just said to make you suffer for the beating you gave the Uchiha. To take out my aggressions out on you, knowing it would be my ticket to being loved and having a life with someone special to me. Someone you just killed, confessed Anko with the last part causing her to glare at him. Only to be pulled toward him for a second, and then slammed once again into the wooden pole with enough force to cause it to break slightly where she hit it. Don't get so high and mighty with me. You are nothing more than a hypocrite, Uzumaki. Naruto wouldn't have left you to die alone if roles were reversed. He would have fought tooth and nail to ensure you had happiness. Unlike you, he kept his principles to the end, and never betrayed anyone for anything. No matter the offer, exclaimed Shao Kahn in a furious tone, and saw blood leak out of Anko's mouth. You speak as if Uzumaki Naruto is dead. But we both know you are Uzumaki Naruto. Countered Anko with Shao Kahn grinning at her. No, Uzumaki. Naruto died soon after his escape and was reborn through the powers of dark magic and sorcery. You are correct in regards that the soul may be alive, but the body is dead. And I am now Shao Kahn. Do not confuse the two of us just because we are in one body, explained Shao Kahn while Anko bit back the urge to cry out in pain. If you say so, and you call me a hypocrite, said Anko with her clearly not believing his words. Perhaps. I am in a way, but it's minor when compared to you, and that cesspool you call a shinobi village. I'm looking forward to crushing everyone in Konoha under my power when the time comes. And you are going to help me, remarked Shao Kahn with Anko glaring at him. After what you just did. I'd rather die, protested Anko as she cried out when he put a lot more pressure on the wound and nearly blacked out. That's an option I'm more than willing to follow through with, wench. However, given your talents as a shinobi, I think you would be better put to use as one of my many new subordinates. Maybe I'll even make you my bodyguard or concubine if I wish, replied Shao Kahn, while Anko growled angry. As if I would ever have sex with you. I won't. I'd rather be an old hag with saggy tits, exclaimed Anko before she found herself stripped of her trench coat. Her fishnet shirt had been ripped off and pressed up against the wooden pole before she even reacted. I told you and the others before they died that your soul was mine. Everything you are now belongs to me, declared Shao Kahn, as he held her in place and put a hand on the infamous curse seal he knew had always been the bane of her existence from what his memories of the thing had been for the woman. Ignoring Anko's attempts to fight him off from her position, Shao Kahn began to analyze the curse seal using his power, and in a matter of moments, attacked it. Such a big man. Having to rape an injured woman to feel big? I bet you're tiny underneath that loincloth. Your path, was all Anko could get out in a mocking tone, as she screamed out in pain when she suddenly felt a stabbing sensation attacking the cursed seal on her neck. The poor woman began to spasm, as she felt something being pulled out of her, and then something entering in its place. She didn't know what it was that entered, but Anko feared that whatever her old sensei had put into the cursed seal to make it bind her to him, Shao Kahn had replaced it with something worse. Whatever he had done, she didn't want, but her strength had left her body, and couldn't fight him off. His grip on her shoulder was a vice, and the other hand on her hip kept any spasm she had from getting out of control. Funny thing I learned about the curse seal on your neck. It's designed to hold a piece of someone's soul. This is done in combination with elements I have never seen before of a biological nature to draw on the energies of nature itself to sustain it. Fortunately for me, the power to drain a soul, if only a fragment of it, has always been a skill I was a natural at when reborn in Outworld. Without the soul fragment, your body could not sustain itself due to the other elements being rejected, and thus needs another soul fragment to anchor it down, explained Shao Kahn before he released the woman when he finished, and saw her fall to the ground, exhausted. You put a piece of yourself into the curse seal, concluded Anko after a moment, in regaining her bearings while looking up at him in horror. Yes. Just as that curse seal bound you to Orochimaru, so does mine in a similar fashion, though the design is clearly different, replied Shao Kahn before picking up a kunai near him, and lightly tossed it to Anko so she could use it as a mirror to see the seal through the metal. Instantly, Anko felt newfound strength at this opportunity to attack Shao Kahn, and took it with speed she didn't know was possible for someone so drained of energy. Maybe it was her rage, her pain of losing Erika, or the fact she didn't care about dying anymore. However, when she was a second away from plunging the kunai into his chest, where the heart was located, Anko's body suddenly jolted like it had been struck by lightning, and the woman cried out, in pain before slumping to the ground. What was that? Why couldn't I kill you? Asked Anko while panting and looking up at the smirking giant. Because my seal won't let you, Anko. Your former sensei Orochimaru may have been one to find amusement by entertaining himself with the idea of you getting close enough to kill him, but I do not share his views on the matter. This is your ultimate punishment for betraying me and yourself all those years ago, Anko. You will obey me. You follow my every command I give, whether you like it or not. From now on, I am your master. From now on, I am your commander, your emperor. My word is law to you, decreed Shao Kahn, with Anko not liking this one bit. And if I decide to kill myself? Challenged Anko before she felt more pain run through her body. You can try, Anko, but like with your attempt to kill me just now, the seal won't let you do anything of the sort. And over time, the seal will make you see things as they were meant to be seen. My way, answered Shao Kahn while Anko struggled to get up and stand. And what does my master command of me? Asked Anko while she saw his grin increase further. Simple. You know where every Konoha shinobi in Wave Country is currently located throughout the land. Even now, some of them are going to investigate what has happened here. When those sent to investigate what happened in this area fail, report in soon. You will be reporting in for them. You will report that a riot was put down after a successful execution of Tsunami and Inari occurred, commanded Shao Kahn while Anko grit her teeth, but slowly nodded and found a radio communication system on one of the dead Konoha shinobi. She didn't dare look at Iruka's body for fear of tears forming again. Teams 3 and 7 report. Anko, Iruka, what's going on over there? We heard and felt a commotion going on at the execution grounds, was a voice over the speaker Anko put in her ear. This is Anko. We had a small riot after we executed the 2 prisoners. We put down the rioters. All Konoha shinobi can stand down. I repeat, all Konoha shinobi stand down, said Anko into her headset. Copy that, Anko. All teams stand down and head back to your posts, said the voice on the other end. I'm going to be off duty for a little while, Kakashi. Iruka and I need to get all the blood off of our clothes, added Anko while seeing Shao Kahn's crimson eyes narrow at the mention of the Cyclops. Understood, Anko. Try not to have too much fun or let your guard down while off duty. We might need you to if things get crazy later, replied Kakashi before Anko turned off the radio after hearing the man's perverted giggle. Baka, whispered Anko before she was turned around by Shao Kahn and forced to look him right in those crimson eyes and felt his hand on her waist before the injury there was healed by his powers. Now, tell me about the situation overall in Wave Country. From troop positions to their exact numbers and the Wave Daimyo, either being alive or dead. Leave nothing out, or you will regret it, commanded Shao Kahn with Anko reluctantly nodding, and told him everything. Wave Daimyo's castle sometime later. Iruka, Anko, Genma, and their teams haven't reported in yet? Questioned Kakashi with Yamato nodding a yes. Nor the team assigned to Anko and Iruka during the execution of the 2 criminals that supported the demon, added Yamato with Kakashi, letting out a noise indicating he was thinking. Something has happened to them. Somehow the people of Wave have taken down our teams while they were caught off guard, concluded Kakashi with Yamato, frowning in thought. But how? It shouldn't be possible for civilians to take down highly skilled shinobi, said Yamato with Kakashi shrugging. Knowing Anko's ways, the people of Wave probably caught her, and Iruka rutting in a cheap motel. As for Genma and his team, we'll just have to find out, replied Kakashi casually, as he was reading his Icha Icha Paradise book while in the daimyo's chair, and glanced at the worried Mokuton user. How? Asked Yamato with Kakashi shrugging. Anyway, we can. They took down our people, so we have to return the favor to them. Get in contact with our teams around the town. Have them round up a few random people for execution. And don't stop with just men, since they'll put on a brave face. Get some of the women and children too, ordered Kakashi, as he was told to bring this country under the command of Fire Country, and if he had to kill a chunk of the populace to do it, then he would. Besides, Fire Country was planning to invest some of its population here, and would be looking for homes to live in. What better way to do that than kill a few people in wave, and seize their houses as spoils of war, to redistribute later to wealthy, influential families? I just did, Kakashi-senpai. I've lost contact with 5 of the 8 teams still out there, replied Yamato with Kakashi, frowning now and putting his book away. And the 3 remaining teams? Asked Kakashi with Yamato frowning further. They are all here inside the castle, replied Yamato before an explosion was heard that shook the castle. We're under attack. Attention all Konoha shinobi, we are under attack. Prepare to repel the enemy, commanded Kakashi before sounds of fighting were heard. More explosions shook the castle, and cries of pain. Kakashi, we are under attack by an unknown foe. Anko is with him. She's betrayed us. She has aha, cried one shinobi into his headset. Anko betraying us? But that's not possible, exclaimed Yamato with the cries of battle, pain, and death getting louder. Another explosion rocked the castle. We will know soon enough, said Kakashi, as he saw the large doors leading into their room getting smashed against something powerful from the way the doors jolted, and the sound of the impact of the thing hitting them. The 2 Konoha shinobi, plus the Anbu with them, were watching with weapons drawn as the doors to the throne room started crack, another hit causing a splinter, and another causing them to break. When the broken doors flew open, Kakashi, Yamato, and the Anbu with them were shocked to see a strange man walking into the room. He was dressed like some kind of warlord, a strange demonic samurai helmet on his head that covered the upper part of his face and head while holding a massive sledgehammer in his hand. Beside him was Mitarashi Anko, wearing her usual trench coat and short skirt currently stained in blood. Her fishnet shirt was missing, though everyone knew that the shirt did little to hide the impressive bust the woman sported, and teased men with when walking around Konoha. Identify yourself, commanded Kakashi while focusing on the figure and ignoring Anko for the moment. I am Shao Kahn, the Conqueror, and you Hatake. Kakashi will be bowed to me before the end, proclaimed Shao Kahn with Kakashi raising an eyebrow while looking completely calm, while the Anbu around him let out a chuckle. We'll see, replied Kakashi before revealing his Sharingan eye, and got ready for a fight. Fight! Yelled Shao Kahn as he engaged the Anbu, and Kakashi while Anko took on Yamato. Why are you doing this, Anko? You are a loyal Konoha shinobi. Why betray us after the Yondaime cleared you of being possible traitor? Demanded Yamato while trying to repel her with his sword, while she used a kunai. You think I have a choice? The bastard over there reshaped my curse seal to practically make me his slave, said Anko while having no choice in the matter of fighting Yamato. What? How? Orochimaru-sama said your curse seal was untouchable since it was just a prototype and faulty in being used properly, said Yamato with Anko gritting her teeth. I don't know, exclaimed Anko angrily while stilling trying to kill him. Mokuton. Mokusatsu Shibari, no Jutsu, said Yamato after leaping back and quickly shot multiple branches from his hands to tie up Anko. As for Shao Kahn, he shoulder-tackled one Konoha Anbu right into a stone pillar, and leaving a mashed-looking body to slump down dead. 2 Anbu leaped into the air with a tanto in their hands and tried to stab him from above. However, the demonic warlord threw his wrath hammer into the air, hitting one of them in the chest with enough force to cave in his ribs, and the second Anbu missed his strike. Shao Kahn caught the second Anbu by the back of his, pulled him back, and broke his spine when ramming a knee right into it with enough force that shattered the means for the man to walk ever again. Not that it mattered since Shao Kahn crushed his head like a grape, and threw the body away. Rakiri! Exclaimed Kakashi as he charged forward and struck his intended target with his lightning jutsu, only to find some kind of chakra shield was blocking his Rakiri from killing Shao Kahn, and got an uppercut to the face after having his extended arm knocked away. Where is your Yondaime Hokage when you need him, Kakashi? Mocked Shao Kahn with an amused chuckle before walking toward the stunned man. He hits harder than Tsunade-sama. What is he? thought Kakashi as he shook his head, but was quickly brought to his feet and held by his Junin vest by Shao Kahn. "You're pathetic, sharing in eye shackles. Someone like me no longer," replied Shao Kahn before smashing his fist into Kakashi several times before throwing him right into a stone pillar holding the roof up. Kakashi's body bounced off the pillar before hitting the ground hard. His Sharingan eye was being slightly blocked by the swell around it, and bleeding heavily from several cuts made by the spiked wrist bracers. "Kashi-senpai," exclaimed Yamato while wondering how he could help Kakashi and keeping Anko restrained. "Someone like him? What does he mean by that?" thought Kakashi while struggling to get up. "You, the Yondaime, his family, Senju Tsunade, and the other higher-ups within Konoha masquerade yourselves as dragons, believing you have a right to control the world as the elder gods are in control of the heavens. But in end, you are all mere toothless worms," mocked Shao Kahn before grabbing a shocked Kakashi by the back of his vest and threw him against another pillar before being kicked hard into it with enough force to leave an impression of his body in it. "You have no right to speak about Minato-sensei like that. Or anyone from Konoha for that matter," protested Kakashi after he fell forward onto the ground. "Oh, but I do take Kakashi. The Yondaime Hokage is my father after all," countered Shao Kahn, while Kakashi looked up at him in horror, and so did Yamato. "Father? But how? The only child Yondaime-sama has is Naruto," countered Yamato with Shao Kahn laughing. "How quickly the people of Konoha forget. But you didn't forget, did you, Kakashi? The other less loved child who was your student, which you were assigned to watch, neglect, and ensure the boy would never reach his full potential for fear of what he would do upon learning the truth behind his life's purpose. You know the life that I'm talking about, right, Hate? The very one where he struggles all day, every day, without end. And when the boy finally succeeds in the one mission given to him by the Hokage, he's put to death," said Shao Kahn with Kakashi still looking at him in horror since the Junin knew who he was from another life. "And Naruto," whispered Kakashi since he did remember the promise of revenge aimed at the leaf by the boy who made it before being sucked into that portal. After that happened, Minato, Jiraiya, and Kushina all tried to study the seal design on the ground that was left behind in the hopes of understanding it to find Naruto. But all the attempts proved fruitless for years due to the design being unreadable and too scorched to be deciphered by anyone. Jiraiya had even tried to reverse summon the boy since he was still bound to the Toad contract, but it didn't work. And what was worse had been the Elder Toad talking of the original prophecy changing. Not just changing, but rather it had been destroyed entirely, and being rewoven into something completely different. Jiraiya had said the Elder Toad described it like someone took a sword to a tapestry that was the future before the pieces were formed into a new prophecy. It was only now did Kakashi know what it was referring to as it played back in his mind. Gods and kings trembled in fear of his power, his heart filled with rage and pain from the past. He will fight all who stand against him. In the name of justice and vengeance, all will fall at his feet. The betrayed one will return to conquer all we know, and consume the shinobi world as we know it, into shadow. It is a good thing that you remembered my old name after all these years, Kakashi. I would hate to think that someone such as yourself forgot about your sensei's discarded son. Now take it with you to the Netherrealm, knowing your life and this world as you know it is going to end soon." "Very soon," replied Shao Kahn, as he brought his wrath hammer up to crush the man in front of him and deal another blow to Konoha. "Damn it. I need to save Kakashi-senpai," thought Yamato, as he threw Anko against a wall and turned his jutsu toward Kakashi in order to retrieve him before the killing blow could be delivered down upon him. "Thanks, Yamato. We need to get out of here and to Konoha immediately. They have to be warned," replied Kakashi while Yamato held on to him, and they began to flee from the castle. "We'll make it, Kakashi-senpai. Don't worry," said Yamato while rushing with Kakashi to the bridge, trying to escape using speed to their advantage despite one being riddled with internal injuries. "Light Spear!" called out Shao Kahn as he pierced Yamato's chest and sent the two-leaf shinobi stumbling across the bridge. Yamato! Called out Kakashi while seeing Yamato trying to stand, but the spear-shaped chakra weapon had hit the man with lethal precision, and the Mokuton user soon slumped down dead. One less worm to worry about crushing. I remember him from my time growing up as a child. Looking back on it, I realize he used his wood powers to suppress QBs from being unleashed on the fools that hurt me growing up. I should have made him suffer more for his past actions, remarked Shao Kahn with Kakashi struggling to stand. But the former emperor punched him in the face and sent the Junin flying to the side of the bridge into the concrete siding while denting the metal railing. Naruto, wait! We can work this out, I know. I know Konoha has wronged you for what the QB did. That I wronged you. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can start anew. All of us. You, me, the Sandime, your godparents, your parents, and your sister can all start over. A fresh start. They would be proud to have you back in Konoha, and as a member of their family, pleaded a helpless Kakashi, while Shao Kahn stopped in front of him with the wrath hammer in his hand once more. And why would I want to be a member of that so-called family? They never wanted me, Kakashi. Even after I was born, they never wanted a son. It didn't matter to them if I had the QB sealed in me or not. They would have cast me out simply for being male and for their own selfish reasons. Though in a way, I should thanking them for making me the QB Jinchuriki rather than my sister. If she had been, I know they would have still raised her and left me to die at the hands of the villagers. They didn't need me. They just didn't want to do the extra work when presented with a way out, countered Shao Kahn before picking up Kakashi and slamming him into railing. That's not true, protested Kakashi while grunting at the pain he was in right now. You knew what they planned for me after I became the QB Jinchuriki. You knew they were going to leave me regardless if I was or not. At least with the fox's power, I was able to heal from my wounds, and enhancing my already fast regenerative abilities given to me by my Uzumaki bloodline because of it. Tell me, Kakashi, if my sister had been made a Jinchuriki, and I was cast aside to suffer at the hands of Konoha's populace like I did growing up, would you have let me suffer? Demanded Shao Kahn with the Junin not answering him and looking away. I'm sorry, Naruto, but you know Minato-sensei's orders are absolute, and I must obey him since he knows what he's doing. According to Jiraiya, either he or Naruto are to be considered the child of prophecy that was foretold long ago. Add to the fact he was the Yondaime Hokage of Konoha, and single-handedly ended the Third Shinobi War with Iwa. One does not question a man like that about his decisions, answered Kakashi before seeing the disgusted look on the giant's helmeted face. Well, I'm questioning him, and I'll have you know he is not the child of prophecy that was foretold. Nor is Naruto. I am, declared Shao Kahn with Kakashi glaring at him now in anger. Says who? Just because you say it doesn't make it true. You are just a dead last, no-talent shinobi, who was given bare minimum training and learning in order to be a subservient weapon for a cause beyond his understanding. You are a weapon, a tool. Tools do not question their masters, countered Kakashi before he cried out in pain when Shao Kahn brought his wrath hammer down on his right kneecap. The elder gods say otherwise, but you don't have to take my word for it. I suggest you go and talk to my so-called father about this. He knows what I just told you is true, said Shao Kahn with Kakashi clutching his broken leg. I don't know how you came to that conclusion, but you must be even stupider than when you escaped Konoha. Do you expect me to believe that I can just wobble out of here to warn everyone without being killed by you with my back turned? I thought you wanted to kill me and everyone else in Konoha. For your revenge, questioned Kakashi with Shao Kahn laughing at him and leaning down to stare the Junin right in the eyes. Before grabbing half of it. They already know I have returned, Kakashi? Or at the very least, the higher-ups know of my return? After all, I did rip the other half of QB out of my father, and then sent him back to Konoha, as weak as a newborn infant, said Shao Kahn while pressing his thumb down on Kakashi's eye, holding the Sharingan. Oh no, our edge against Naruto is gone. And with Minato-sensei losing the other half of the kyuubi, thought Kakashi with Shao Kahn's smile increase, as if he were reading the Junin's mind. Oh yes, Kakashi. Any advantage Konoha had with my father fighting me is gone. I took back from him what didn't belong to my father from the start. Just as I am going to take what doesn't belong to you either, said Shao Kahn, and moved his large hand to painfully remove the Sharingan eye of one Hate Kakashi, with the man crying out in protest and thrashing wildly in the process. No, don't. This eye came from a dear friend. It's all I have left of him, pleaded Kakashi while thrashing, punching, kicking Shao Kahn's massive body with no success. Your time being known as Sharingan Kakashi is over. As of this very moment, you are now just plain, ordinary Hate Kakashi, replied Shao Kahn before showing the eye to the Junin before crushing it in his hands and letting the optic juice from the organ leak out of his fist for Kakashi to see with his one remaining eye. No, Obito. Rin Sasuke, whispered Kakashi in shock. Wobble back to Konoha like the wounded dog you are, Kakashi. Go back to Konoha and tell them that the demon they despised for years has come back to this realm. Tell them, I am back to keep my promise, and there is not a soul in Konoha that can stand in my way, commanded Shao Kahn as he picked Kakashi up and threw him like a javelin high into the air until he landed on the mainland where the bridge connected to Wave Country before bouncing hard multiple times from the impact. This is bad. The prophecy is coming true, thought Kakashi, as he found himself unable to stand, much less walk, due to the impact on the ground broke his other leg and realized he had to crawl back to Konoha. Like a wounded dog. One thing had take. Tell them that this bridge is no longer the great Uchiha Sasuke bridge. It is the great Naruto bridge once more, yelled Shao Kahn for all to hear in Wave Country before he leaped into the air and smashed one of the statues of Uchiha Sasuke with the Wrath Hammer on one side before doing it again on the other. When he was back on land again, within the borders of Wave Country, the people of the island nation gathered to cheer for him, calling Shao Kahn their hero once more. The former emperor of Outworld was a bit confused by this, as he had always ruled through fear and intimidation by using his power to kill his enemies. And now here he was, being loved by the people around him, none of them being frightened by his appearance. They didn't care what he looked like, or he was stained in the blood that came from the bodies of countless Konoha shinobi he had taken down to get to the castle. All they cared about regarding him was that he had returned to them, that he had returned and saved them all once more from enemy invaders. It was very strange, to say the least. You seem surprised the people would embrace you after all this time. Naruto-kun, said Tsunami, after she and Inari approached him, with the latter giving the giant man a hug. I'm not used to such praise. Contrary to what people here believe, I have been more of a villain than hero. If you had only seen what I had done since my escape from Konoha, if these people knew the truth behind how I am now, they would hate me, replied Shao Kahn, as he wondered why such a feeling of being hated by the people here hurt him so much when it never bothered him before, and wondered if the Elder Gods were somehow responsible for messing with his heart before he left them. Or perhaps it was a part of him awakening. It doesn't matter to us because you will always be Naruto-kun in our eyes. Our hero who freed us from one tyrant and protected us from an army sent by another. Whether you are willing to accept it or not is up to you, declared Tsunami while trying to keep the blush that was forming on her face. You have to show me how you did all those cool things, brother. Could you teach me? Questioned Inari while hoping he would, since his fight with the shinobi, who entered his family's home to take them away, had ended badly, and wanted to get stronger. My powers are unique, Inari. I think you should focus your skills more in the ways of archery. I seem to recall you being an excellent shot with a crossbow. But I think I can help teach you a bit about fighting should you fight someone using close-range combat, replied Shao Kahn, as he wasn't about to teach Inari such power, fearing it would corrupt him, or turn him into another Shang Tsung. One sorcerer like him was bad enough. Shao Kahn wasn't going to turn the boy into the man's replacement. Okay. I figured as much with the summoning of your weapon and moving so fast for a guy your size, said Inari. While Shao Kahn nodded and noticed Tsunami was blushing now, with lust in her eyes as she was admiring his body. And what a man he is. All that muscle and power. It makes a woman wonder just how much muscle he's really got under there, thought Tsunami while shaking her head at the perverted things that came to mind. Just out of curiosity, how will your country be run? I was told your wave daimyo was killed some time ago, said Shao Kahn, with the people looking saddened. In hearing that, it's true, I'm afraid. The wave daimyo wouldn't agree to the terms set by Konoha or the fire daimyo, for that matter. They killed him when they invaded to make it, so we needed a form of government set up under their control to keep us in line, replied Tsunami, as she saw Inari's face scrunch up in thought before they went wide at an idea. Wait! Big brother here can be the daimyo, declared Inari, while Shao Kahn looked at him with a bit of surprise, though not too much since he did consider the idea of taking the throne of only to be protected politically in certain areas one gets from such a station. That's a wonderful idea, Inari, exclaimed Tsunami, as the people around them were all in agreement and were clearly supporting the idea with their voices calling out for Shao Kahn to lead them. Very well. I shall become the ruler of Wave Country. However, I must things clear to you right here, and now regarding my identity. At one point in my life I was once called Uzumaki Naruto. Your hero. Your savior. But my time away I have done things, horrible things to survive where I have been, and returned to you like this as a result of it. One of the changes I had to make was to forsake my old name, and was given a new one for the life I have lived before coming back to this realm. As such, from this day forward, I wish to be addressed not as Uzumaki Naruto, but as Shao Kahn, explained Shao Kahn, with the people being shocked by this. But they nodded in understanding, and didn't see a reason to question their new ruler. All hail Shao Kahn, daimyo of Wave Country, yelled Inari, with the crowd soon cheering and chanting his name. As for Shao Kahn, he felt something change within him. Not so much as a change in how he felt towards his enemies, but rather what was felt toward the people he now ruled, and wished to protect them from harm, rather than rule through oppression, as he had done for years after the fall of the Dragon King. Well over a millennia ago, the former emperor felt the need to rule these people fairly and make sure his new subjects were taken care of while, at the same time, keeping a firm hand to ensure they didn't get too carried away. Maybe Uzumaki Naruto was more alive than he gave himself credit. In any case, the giant of a man needed to assess the damage Wave Country had suffered while being occupied by Konoha shinobi. Once he finished with that and repairing the damage done, he would seek out his old friends in high places throughout the elemental countries to gather allies in the war that was to come. If it hadn't already. Chapter 5. A Bruised Leaf. He did what? Demanded Tsunade, while at the hospital treating a now conscious Namikaze Minato of being drained of almost all his chakra when he suddenly appeared in her office via a strange portal. Beside her was Jiraiya, Orochimaru, the Sandaime, Kushina, and Naruko, with horrified looks on their faces. Minato had just told them what happened while he was with his team of Leaf Shinobi, assigned to taking out an Iwa encroachment team. How he had been suddenly pulled away from the battle, and soon found himself surrounded by those who called themselves the Elder Gods. How they bound him in golden chains, and was soon confronted by Shao Kahn, who had revealed himself to be Minato's discarded son. The very same son they had let the village hate and abuse since his birth. But now, the boy was a man. A giant, muscled, and demonic-looking man who had ripped the other half of Kyuubi from the former Hokage's body into his own. He has the other half of Kyuubi inside of him now. The two are now one from the way Naruto implied things, explained Minato the group before him, looking disturbed by this news. This is bad. Without the other half of Kyuubi's chakra that was sealed inside Minato, and we can't use Tsunade's skills with medical chakra into the mix, the ability to make the old become young again has become lost to us. If our enemies discover this, they will swarm upon us from all sides, said Jiraiya worriedly, and Orochimaru frowned, since it was because of that procedure that his immortality jutsu did not require him or Hiruzen to switch bodies every 3 years. Tsunade was back in her prime, and so was Jiraiya, so they had no need for the immortality jutsu, which meant a chance to mold future bodies to take in the future for everyone when the time came. But the recent pain in the snake Sanden's chest, if not deeper into his soul, 2 days ago gave him a fearful sense of dread, was it? He didn't know where it came from, but Orochimaru did not like it one bit, and didn't know if he should tell anyone here. Can we get it back? Can we do what you did last time? Divide it into 2, and seal them up? Asked Kushina, with Minato shaking his head. No. No? Naruto is still Naruto, but with Kyuubi as a whole merged with him. Apparently the half he had sealed inside of his body merged with him years ago, and now the other half that was ripped from me has done the same. He also has the blessing of these elder gods too, from what I saw in that room, answered Minato, with Jiraiya frowning. I need to confer with the toads about this. Maybe they can shed some light on what is going on, replied Jiraiya before he left out the window. It will be at least a week before you are back on your feet. I'll send some reinforcements to your team's last known location, should that Iwa encroachment team overpower them, said Tsunade before she left to handle things on her end. So, the demon has finally returned. Just like he promised, remarked Hiruzen, as he now slowly walked toward the window and looked out at Konoha. I didn't think he would keep it, considering the state of his injuries when he left, replied Minato, with Hiruzen nodding, since he didn't expect it either. We need to find out where your son is before he can gain a foothold in this world. Once our enemies know of his return, their morale in this war will increase 100-fold, remarked Orochimaru, with Hiruzen nodding. Jiraiya will find him. Someone of that size, the attire he was wearing, and his face from what you saw is not something that can be hidden so easily, replied Hiruzen, with Minato, and the others nodding. What do we do until then? We can't warn the village. It will cause a panic. Our enemies will learn that much faster through their spies, said Kushina, with Orochimaru nodding, since he had sent Kabuto on a spy mission to Kumo to gather more information on the 2 Jinchuriki there. We must be discreet. For the moment, we must make everyone inside and outside of the village believe that nothing is amiss, answered Orochimaru in a sagely tone, while in the back of his prodigal mind he was preparing for a possible escape plan should things turn against Konoha, to the point where being loyal to it wasn't in the best interest of his newly acquired help. Soon, my brother. Soon we will see which one of us is truly the superior sibling. The one who is worthy of being a Namikaze and Uzumaki, thought Naruto, as she clenched her fists and narrowed her eyes at the idea of fighting the man that was her big brother by a few seconds. For years since being born, Naruto had been told she was the better one, the one that her parents always wanted. She had been given the best training, instructions on all things shinobi, from powerful jutsus to taijutsu, chakra control, strategies, and molding of the chakra chains she inherited from her mother. Naruto was everything her parents said she was, and more, from the way she progressed in training. She was her father's daughter, her mother's daughter, their progeny. Period. At least, it was what Naruto believed until recently, and was starting to question whether she was the superior progeny when compared to her lost brother Naruto. Sure, she didn't face a ranked missing nin, save a country from a tyrant, fight Orochimaru, or save a princess turned daimyo of a country from an evil uncle. But she was still the offspring of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. So that had to count for something, right? Right.